Okay. Google, let's just start sharing your screen. Okay, so how many got project 2 done? Who struggled? Okay, did you just not have time, or you didn't?
I'm getting a syntax error. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yours running, Robert?
I've got mine uploaded, what I've got done.
What you've got done. Okay. All right. Well, let's go over. First, we did cover what the project is, and so all we're going to do is actually modify it to ask what type of wood. And I don't remember if it was this class or the Monday class that asked me, okay, do you want, if they say mahogany and you have 2 coffee tables, do you want it multiplied times 2 or just added at the end? So what did you do, Robert?
I multiplied it by the number of coffee tables they ordered.
Okay, so you put a little bit more detail in there, which I should have specified that in the project. So either way, actually in this case would be correct, because it just says add 75, and I should have said add per table. So if you just added 75 to your total, then that's correct too, just because I didn't specify it. So I'll go back and fix that for running that problem again.
I took it as $75 each table.
That's good, because that's really what I wanted, but I know I didn't say per table, so some students just added it to the total amount due. So that didn't make a lot of sense, huh? Okay, so let's see. So Robert did it that way too. Let's go down here. Like that. So we're going to look here at the way Robert did it, and did you do a flow chart or pseudocode?
Flow chart.
Okay. Okay, let's see here. FA 14, 56, and there's going to be R. Oh, it's P1 RM. Where to go? There it is. Oops, that was 2. That was a 1. Here's 2. P2. Okay, here's the flow chart. See if I can get it a little bigger here. 150. Is that clear enough? Or y'all want it a little bit bigger? Let's see. We could do probably 200 and see. All right, so in his flow chart, and you remember if you do pseudocode, you basically just take what's in these boxes and maybe you include a little bit differently as far as your indentions and so forth. So our declarations, he went ahead and initialized the number of lamps to 0, number of coffee tables to 0, initialized his total price to 0. So if you just declared the variables and didn't put equal to 0, that'll work too, but then you have to go down and be sure and convert to numbers. But usually if you initialize to 0, you don't have to convert to number. So either way will work. This is a good habit to get into. If you're going to take a language next, all of your languages will require you to initialize a numeric. Base table is a constant he named, equals 155. Base lamp equals 65. Let's see, this is the mahogany price, the oak price. Variable, MAH, means, okay, so what he decided to do is determine which they entered and then put it in a constant value. Then here's his variable that probably compares to mahogany oak, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is one way to set it up, a good way to use a lot of constants like that. So if you want to go in and add more wood types, or you want to change the price of a wood type, if you have it up here in the constants, then that's a lot easier to maintain. Okay, input, number of desk lamps, number of coffee tables, and the wood type. So we only, in our modification, added one input variable, right? From what test one was. I'm sorry, project one. Okay, so total price is going to equal number of desk lamps times base lamp plus number of coffee tables times base table. So this was his statement from project one, right? So what he did is he didn't modify this any, because you still have to know what the total price is of coffee tables and lamps, because if it's pine, it's not going to change, right? Okay, so that was good to leave that the same. That's good logic. Okay, here's the if else. Let's see if I can get it up. Okay, he used a single alternative if nested with the wood types. Now, where is this no connecting here? Yeah, yeah, it's hard to draw, right? Let's see. Okay, so if we were doing it in pseudocode, you would see this if with no else, just an end if, but inside the nested if is a dual alternative. It has a yes side and a no side, right? Okay, so if wood type is the same as oak. So what he's assuming, what Robert's assuming, is that there will be more oak than anything else if it's the first if. But right now you're just getting it to work, right? so what we want to do when we code ifs later on is we want to stop and think, okay, what do most people probably, and if you don't know, then it doesn't matter. You can put it either direction. So if the wood type is the same as oak, then total price that he calculated above is going to be total price plus oak price times number of coffee tables. If it's not oak, then he's going to assume it's mahogany. What about pine?
It's up at the top because it said if it's oak or mahogany, it goes.
Oh, I see. Okay, so if it's oak or mahogany, then it'll go here. Else, it's going to go here, and you're going to assume that it's pine, and there will be no charge for it. That's a good way. That's how you did it too. Okay, so then the output is number of desk lamps, number of coffee tables, kind of wood type, and the total price. Good. All right, so now, anybody have any questions about the way he did his flow chart? Because you can do pseudocode the same way. Okay. Oh, do what now? Sure. Let me see if I thought that would come right back up, but it did. Which part? Let me go. Okay. This one? Oh, square one, sorry. Let's see. Okay, this first rectangle is from the first project. That should have been the statement that you made. Is that the one you meant? Yeah, that one should be where you calculated the same way you calculated the total price in project one. It's still calculated first off. Because you're always going to have that total price, but then you just need to know, in addition to that, is there going to be an extra charge for the type of wood? So that way, if you use the same if he used, then on the no path of this if, you don't have to do anything. But because if you don't, then you're going to have that down here right before the output where you calculate total price. It'd be a little more difficult.
See, I had it down. I added the way I added the price for the mahogany and the oak was to figure it in pretty much the same way, the price.
Here, let's just look at your pseudocode, and then we'll go back to Robert's JavaScript since it runs. I think I know what you're saying, but we'll go back here so we can see it. Sometimes it's easier to see the visual.
Okay. I didn't get my flowchart done. I got the pseudocode.
Pseudocode? Okay, well, let's look at your pseudocode then. That'll be in projects, P2. Because you only had to do either or. So if you've got the pseudocode.
I need to get into the habit of actually figuring out how to do both of them. And the hardest one for me so far on this one is figuring it out.
In the flow chart. See, a lot of places now, when I first started programming, we could, you know,
I guarantee this is right because the HTML or JavaScript is a script there. So,
okay, so let's see what we got. Okay, so here's, yeah, I won't be able to open your flow chart anyway. It's in a,
yeah, that's why. So unless you know I didn't do it. I didn't
okay. Okay. All right. So let me get this a little bigger so we can look at it better. 200%. Okay. So in David's, he went ahead and all of this is probably the same as your first project, right?
Yeah.
Down to mahogany. You do know you spell mahogany wrong, right? As long as you spelled it that way down below, it doesn't matter. But it's Mahoghany, mahogany. As long as you spelled it that same way, you put your H in the wrong spot. Yeah, you did do it down here the same, so that's fine. Well, I hope not, because I sure spelled it wrong if you did. Let me see.
I originally spelled it differently.
Oh, yeah? Let me see. Did anybody else spell it? Did I not? Oh, that's coming open in there anyway. Let me see. Open, recent. Where is project 2? See. Oh, I did spell it like that. Okay.
That's because I originally spelled it was usually.
I don't think that's right. I don't know. I don't know. I usually am pretty good at spelling. That's not one of my weaknesses, but oh no, you put an N in here. I knew something looked wrong. You put an N right there. Mahogany. See? Mahogany. It doesn't matter as long as you spelled it the same, which you did, I saw. Okay. So he's got a constant for mahogany, 75, constant for oak, 100, pine equals 0. So the way David did it, he did all his input. And there's his input for which ones they are. If mahogany coffee tables,
I just wanted to separate them.
okay, then total price equals desk lamps times desk lamps plus coffee tables times coffee tables plus mahogany and diff. Okay, you just did yours in.
I was going to do the individual calculations for the.
Okay, if coffee tables, then total price equals desk lamps times desk lamps plus coffee tables times coffee tables plus oak. Why do you do plus oak?
Because the coffee table's price plus the additional $100. So it's instead of 155, it'd be 255 times the number of coffee tables that they're ordering.
Okay, so you just did your calculations different. Your price, if your price comes up the same, else total price desk lamps times desk lamps. Plus, okay, this is the default if it was pine, is
Right.
what you're saying. Okay, yeah, and see, it was a little more straightforward. I think a little easier would have been easier for you to think about the way Robert did it because he did this only one time up at the top. So then all he had to do was add if there were mahogany to it or if it was oak to that original price. See, and in yours, you had to calculate total price in both of these, okay? So that's not wrong. I'm just saying it might be easier to think of if you take the original that you did, project 1, and then just add to the bottom. That's just another way of thinking of it, but that doesn't mean yours is incorrect. Okay, so we're going to go to Robert's first, and then we'll look at your HTML2 and see what was wrong with it. Okay, so in Robert's, All right, so he's got all these match what he had in his actual flow chart. So these are his declarations just from his flow chart. Here's his input, number of desk lamps, and he prompts you, number of coffee tables, he prompts you. And then on his wood type prompt, he did what I suggested. We have pine, oak, and mahogany. There is an extra charge of $100 for oak and $75 for mahogany. Total price equals number of desk lamps times base lamp plus coffee tables times. So right here is was in his rectangle box, which you have to calculate the total price regardless of the wood type. Okay, so this statement is no matter, you would do it whether you had a different wood type or not. I'm just doing this so maybe we can separate it. So that was input up above. Oops, this is the processing step. Now, if wood type is the same as oak, you remember he's got double equals because in JavaScript, that's the way you do a comparison. Now, the reason he didn't have to put this in quotes is because up here he used a constant and he said oak equals oak, right? So if they put oak in, then it's going to make oak equal to that. Or wood type equals MAH, then if wood type is the same as oak, do this, else if its total price equals. Now, here's the if that was the outer if. And if it's not either one of these, then it's going to fall to this closing if bracket. So if it's pine, then it falls through, and he never has to do the test for pine because he's doing the test for if it's oak or mahogany, right? So then he does the test for either or, and then if it's oak, he does this, else if it's mahogany, he does this one, document.writeLine, you ordered number desk lamps, number coffee tables, and your coffee tables wood type dot. Now you'll notice that he figured out how to do a document.writeLine by using his breaks, which he used a BR. That was his constant up here to break to a new line. So he only had to use one document.writeLine. Oh, and I didn't remember, it was you want to remember how to do background color. So this is a function of JavaScript where you can change your background color, and that's what he did here. So let's see what this one is. Okay, how many desk lamps would you like to order? Desk lamps cost $65 each. We'll keep with our 2 and our 3, so we'll know what the dollar amount is. And the first time, let's try oak. And there he has a background of dark blue. And it says, you ordered 2 desk lamps, 3 coffee tables, and your coffee tables are made of oak. Your total is $8.95. Thank you for shopping with Marshall Furniture Supplier. Okay, so it was before $5.95, right, was the price without a charge for oak. So if it's $100 per table, then you would add 300, so $8.95 is the correct total for oak tables. All right, any questions over his? Let's see, let's do the ones with mahogany. So this one would say 2, 3, wood type mahogany. There we go, $8.20, and that is for 3 coffee tables of mahogany, which would be 3 times 75, be 150. What, 225 to $5.95. So that would be $8.20. Okay, so any questions about his JavaScript? I did post, I can post these up, some of these up. Let's look then at David's and see if we can figure out. Oh, where's my, yours is completely what?
It's not
Hmm.
done anyway.
Okay. Well, is it,
I mean,
it started, but it has syntax. Does anybody else want me to look at your HTML? No? Okay. So we'll look, you want to, yours is started, David? It's
yeah,
just,
I've done some things to it, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time.
okay. Let's see, open. Usually just doing different ones. And if you don't know where to start and you want us to start with one, we can do that and just create it a different way. Okay, let's see. Yours is here. No, no, yours is called what? Which, where's, there it is. Okay, P2, project 2. Oops. What is going on here? It's not letting me. For some reason, it's not letting me open it in. Okay, let me see if it'll do it this way. File, open. Maybe it's because it's the same name. I don't know. No, there it is. Okay, this should be yours. First thing that I look at in Dreamweaver is you can go down through here and it shows me an error right here. So there are other editors that'll do that, but here's the first thing I see that's wrong. This has to have, I'm not even looking at the logic, but you have to do double equal, oops, double equals, and you have to put a closing parent around your if. Then it jumps down to, it doesn't like this, and that's because double equals, let's see if that fixes. Okay, it still doesn't like that. If, see if I can get it to take this off. Oh, I wanted it to close these, but it's not doing that. I see. Okay. It's almost like there's a space somewhere. Oh, it may be all the parentheses. Okay, you've got an opening and a closing, an opening and one closing. So there probably needs to be 2. Okay. Now it doesn't like this one. Same thing. Okay. Okay, it looks like the rest of it at least will run.
I didn't change my.
Okay, let's see what this does. It'll tell, it'll either. Okay, save it. Now preview. How many desk lamps? 2. How many coffee tables? 3. Okay, now is yours, what type of wood would you like your coffee? Is yours looking for a capital letter like capital O, AK, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try oak on yours. And you're still getting $5.95. So let's see, with oak, you should be getting $8.95. So let's look at, oh, wait a minute, let me see. Oak, variable oak. But whenever they put the input, if wood type is the same as,
That's where I.
let me see something, because yours is saying, okay, but you actually, what's the input? Wood type? See, if wood type is the same as, But you didn't ever define these. Here's where you're not understanding here, is that on a constant, okay, you're comparing it to 75. See, the way Robert did it, he actually put a constant in that was equal to oak in quotes. Okay, so your wood type, you're taking in wood type here, but then you're comparing it to 75. Okay, does that make sense? You see what I'm saying?
It makes sense if I told you how much time I actually spent moving that.
No.
Because I only spent 25 minutes on this so far.
Oh, well, that's good. So you've done really good. Okay, so now what do we want to do? Everybody see what we're doing here? Anybody have a suggestion? What do we want to do? We can do two things. We can compare wood type to, actually in quotes, mahogany, and then set it equal to his constant, or we can set up a constant up at the top.
Probably easier to set a constant.
Okay. So, like Robert did, we'll go up here and we'll say var let's just say MAH equals oops. All right, AHOGANY. And you also need to add that to where you input, so they know what to input. Variable,
Do the same thing for oak as well.
right. Variable, I'll just have to do OAK underscore because I couldn't say oak again, 3-letter one, equals, in quotes, OAK, string, semicolon. Okay, so in my prompt, when I ask for wood type, I should also say choose oak, mahogany, or pine. Okay. Oh, it went all caps. That I didn't mean that to happen. Choose oak, mahogany, or pine. Oh, capitalize mahogany. Okay. So now when I say file, save, and then I run it, my desk lamps 2, coffee tables 3, choose oak, mahogany, or pine. Okay, I'm going to say oak. Okay. But, oh, I didn't change my logic, right? Okay, so I have to go down here and also change my logic if wood type is the same as MAH, total price, yeah, that should work now. Or if wood type is the same as oak underscore TYPE. Okay, let's see if that works. Do you think that'll work? That look good? File, save. Everybody else must be working on theirs. 2, 3. What type? Oak. Still didn't work.
Must be the calculations.
Okay, let's see. Did you see anything, Robert? Let's see. Okay, desk lamp. Da, 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 da. Okay, if wood type is the same as, oh, you can't say wood type. You would say which one was MAH? It's mahogany. Okay, if MAH equals OGANY, I think. No, that's not going to work either. If MAH if it should have been if wood type, that was right. It's wood type we brought in as a string. So if it's the same as MAH, then total price is equal to desk lamps times desk lamps plus coffee tables times, oh, which one is the number 3? Where's the number of coffee tables? Is that what yours is saying? Coffee tables? Okay.
Yeah, coffee tables is, but when I multiply.
Well, it wouldn't be plus, it would be,
The input is the.
I see how you did it. So you did it by taking, you could actually say, what's wrong with your calculation there? Total price. It's either never falling into here, but it's still calculating the, it's still calculating the, this, it's all falling to the bottom one. Total price. Okay, so our comparisons is what is it not working? Okay, so up here, what I need to do is right after this, I'm going to say alert. Oops, not in all caps. It won't work. Alert. Here's one way to debug if yours is not getting the right. You can tell that it's bypassing an if or something. You can do this alert and it'll tell you what the computer is getting for wood type. Okay, because we've already input it. So let's go up here. This is one way to debug. I tried that Java emulator, but no, it doesn't tell you anything. Yeah, there's a student that told me that they use it all the time, that Dr. Singal gave it to him, but I don't. Yeah, that's all it tell you where or anything. Yeah, Dreamweaver does tell you where on syntax. So we got all the syntax right. Let's go here, preview in Google Chrome. Okay, how many desk lamps, how many coffee tables, and then let's say that I enter oak. And it is getting it in as OAK because that's what the alert tells me. Okay, so now what I want to do, first I'm going to kill some of these so that I don't have so many open up here. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and put another alert in. I'm going to see where it drops to. If it drops always to right here, I can put an alert that says drops to else. Only I got to do that in quotes. That tells me where it's at. Okay, so file, save. Oak. So it's getting oak, and see it drops straight through to the else. So that tells me that my comparisons aren't working, right? So when it should be going to this one, if wood type is the same as oak type, then it should be falling to here, because that's what I'm putting in is oak. right? Anybody see anything wrong with that? Wood type equals oak type. So what's oak type? Oh, I see. Do you see? Yeah, I made it all caps right there. If I would have been trying it with mahogany, it would have worked. Okay, so let's try again. 2, 3. I didn't take my alerts out, so they're going to come up. Okay, there it is. Okay, so it did work that way. So now I can try, then you can test it with mahogany and all that. Okay? Uh-huh. All right, anybody else want to work on theirs? Or it doesn't matter if you've got it right or wrong, or if we want to go through it, we can go through it and see. You can code yours along the way. Everybody else got theirs in there? Come on. Whose is working? Everybody that put it up. Robert, who else? Anybody else? Nobody else has done it. I have to go through there and see, huh? Now, if you just take what we did today and put it up in your projects, then you're probably going to have trouble with the test, because that means you don't know how to do it. So if you've got it working, then you know that's okay if you did it on your own. But if you didn't work on it at all, then you may have trouble with the test, unless you're just going to do it all at once. Okay, I'm going to go back and see who's got theirs done. Luke, do you have yours? Let's see. No projects? You don't have your projects done? Oh, you don't even have chapter 3 assignments in there. You're here all the time. What's happening? Okay, so what about 2? You got to get that stuff in there. You don't, even if you're here, you can't pass if y'all don't put stuff in. Peers, where's yours? Is yours there? You haven't done your chapters either, I saw. That's only a flowchart that didn't even save to a PDF. Do you need some help? Come on, guys. Amanda's not here. Let's see if she put anything in. Nope, no projects. Aaron, is Aaron here? Who's Aaron? It's not in there either? Or do you having trouble? Do you want? Okay, I don't know unless you tell me. Okay, this is P2 right here. Nothing in it yet. Okay. So do you have anything started? No pseudocode anything? Okay, so let's start. If you haven't got something in your folder, then you should be looking up here, not at your phone, not at, which I know some of you all do all class period. And I don't know why you come to class. I don't care if you come to class, but if you come to class, it's very disrespectful to sit and look at your phone. So, you know, please either don't come to class, or if you do come to class, pay attention to what's going on up here unless you want to teach the class, okay? I usually don't say anything, but, you know, I have high school students of my own, and, you know, I know that these devices, I carry them. I don't take off points if you have them sitting in front of you. But please have a little bit, you know, if you're paying for these classes or the government is, so either you want to be paying attention and learning it, or you probably need to do something different. Because if you're not, you know, you can take it online, then I don't know what you're doing. But if you come to class and you want to learn it, you have to participate. Okay. All right. So let's go. If you're embarrassed to tell me you don't understand something, I get that. I've got a 16-year-old. I know how that goes. She doesn't ever like to ask questions, but because I know when you get like I'm a lot older than anyone in here. I'm not sure David's age.
A lot older.
A lot older, but we don't mind asking questions, right? Because that's the way you learn. That's right. But
I started this class with blank slate.
yeah, but young people, I don't know why it is. My daughter thinks she should already know everything there is to know. And so,
Because when you were young, didn't you think you knew everything?
oh, I don't remember. I remember I sat on the.
the.
I sat in the front row, and I always had my hand up or asking questions. That's just all through school. Go ahead.
I do have a question on project number 2. I was trying to get the else statements to work, and instead of going through the process, it just gets stuck in.
Okay, that's a good question. That's what we were doing on David's, is looking at his if else. What's your name? Alec. Okay. I saw you had some of yours done. Let's see. Alec. Did you post it up here so we can look? Okay, which one? I don't see pro. Okay, you need to, yeah, pull them out, the projects out so I can find them easier. But we will look at your JavaScript's what's not working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just instead of going through the tree that I have set up, it decides to get stuck on the first one.
Okay. That's where it's good to do the alerts like we were doing, but we might be able to see in Dreamweaver, we might be able to see exactly what it's doing. Let's see, yours was, what was it called? Let me go back. Oops. Project 2. Oops, I had so many of those. I probably better get this one. Oops. That, okay, let me cancel it. Okay. So this one, I'm going to say open show and binder. Okay, there it is. Open with Dreamweaver CC. Okay, so this one is Alex. And let's see, so if we run it, I don't see, let me see if there's any syntax. I don't see any syntax errors because Dreamweaver would show that up.
Yeah, I ran anyway, but I'm changing something real quick.
Okay. Please enter desired amount 2, desired amount 3. Please enter desired wood type would be oak. I'm going to try oak. Yeah, and it came up with 670. Did what you do fix it?
I don't know yet. I'm about to save it.
Maths Brothers Super Awesome Invoice webpage, new mahogany 75, oak 100, and pine wood options. I like how you did that. Did you, okay, in your HTML, you did several document dot write lines where he could be sure everybody, he did those before he asked for the input. So that's a good way to do it where the user knows, okay, I can enter what type of wood type I enter, tells me, there you go. It didn't work? Okay, so let's look at your variables over the top. Lamp. Okay, I'm saying this is your number of lamps and number of tables. Okay, this is variable wood type and variable price. Okay, so you're not setting any constants up. So you're saying if wood type is equal to mahogany.
And I tried making a separate screen, separate variable.
Uh-huh.
But it's still.
Okay, so if, oh, this has to be double equals. Always on a comparison. In JavaScript. In JavaScript, any comparison, because if you do a single equals, it's looking at it as an assignment statement, so it thinks you're wanting to put oak into wood type. All right, so let's see, here's another one. Equals, let's see if this does it. Okay, so here we go, file, save. Two. Okay, 3, okay. Case letters, so he tells you to do it all in lowercase letters, which is good. Okay. Wood type is not recognized. Please refresh the page. Okay, so where does that error come in?
That's at the end. That's at nothing.
Okay, so it didn't fall into any of them. Let me look at the comparison again. Oh, you were looking, no, OAK, it should have fallen in OAK. Wood type, oh, look, your wood type is a capital T here, and it's a lowercase t in the prompt.
Oh,
So it's not finding that variable. Yeah, oh yeah. If you can't find it, a lot of times it's really good to let somebody else look at it, because you look at it till you go cross-eyed trying to see what's wrong. And so sometimes another pair of eyes helps. Please enter desired wood, oak. Let's see how it does this time. Okay, it got to 6. Oh, you just added the 100 at the end. Like I was talking the first of class, that some people probably interpreted it. I had that in the other class where you did the total was 595, and since it was oak tables, you just added 100 to the total, right?
okay, so should it be added to the?
Well, that's correct, but I meant it to be, which you did exactly what the instructions said to do. So if you did it that way, it's also correct. But what I meant to say was, if it's oak tables, multiply 100 times the number of oak tables. Okay, so that would be like, if it's oak, instead of plus 100, we would say table total. Oops, what did I do there? Okay, where did that go? Table total. Total times 100, because you didn't use a constant. So here would have to be parentheses around here. So let's see if that does it for, if I put oak in again, if that corrects it. No, it didn't output. So it fell in there, so I did something wrong. Let's see. If wood type is the same as oak, and it did get there before because it added 100. Oh, table total times 100. Let's see what that is. File, save. Let's run it again. Okay, 3. Oh, look what it came up with this time. I sure did something wrong. Your invoice total is 47,095. That's, ooh, that was some expensive tables. Okay, so let's see. Did you get yours running right, Alec?
Yeah.
Okay, so what'd you change? What did I overlook here?
Well, I added
Yeah.
the extra.
Table total plus oh, I see what I did. Or is it just lamp total plus table total times 100? Will that get it?
What I did instead was I added it to the actual price of the tables and then multiplied it per table.
Yeah, like you did. So you'd say,
Or whatever the extra price is per table.
lamp total plus table total, and then add.
I mean, if you want, I can just say it.
Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. Then we'll have it. Okay, so this was, let me get this one out. So let's see, this one. If I refresh, it will be this one again, right? Is this one it? Did it refresh, you think? Okay, let's see if it did, if I refreshed it. Okay, if I have the right one, 2, 3, okay. Oak. There we go. So let's see what he did. Alec went and changed his calculation right here. Lamp total equals number times lamp, table total equals number of tables times table plus 75. And so then when did you add them together? Right here? Price equals lamp total plus table total. Okay, so he did his in 2 calculations and then added them together and output it as price here in this. And so see, everybody does it just a little bit different, but the logic is basically straightforward. It's the same. Okay, did that help, Aaron? Do you want to go through the pseudocode? And okay, all right, so we're going to open up that project again and look at it, and let's see who can help me. Who else hasn't done any of it? Okay, are you in, Ricky? Okay, yeah, because I noticed last night you were having evidently struggles because you didn't have anything in there. All right, so you didn't even do project 1, right, Enrique? No, okay. So if you didn't have project 1, then you're starting right from scratch. To do first of all is we have to look at our problem and determine what our input variables are going to be and any additional variables that we're going to need. Okay, so if we start out and it says Mathis Brothers Furniture Store gets desk lamps and coffee tables from your company. Okay, so we want to start in Word, and each desk lamp costs $65 and each coffee table costs $155. Okay, so what kind of variables are those going to be? 65, since they tell us desk lamp costs 65 and coffee tables cost 155. You guys that haven't done yours yet, see if any of you can answer. Okay. What kind of I just told you, what kind of variables are those? Constants. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to start out with a new blank document here. And you notice that there's actually more of you, there's only 3 or 4 that have posted it up there. So you're not alone if you haven't done yours, okay? So just let's get it some help here so y'all will do better on the test. All right, so this first one, we're going to do declarations. Oops, let me make it bigger. Font bigger, like maybe 22. Okay, so I've got declarations, and I just said that I'm going to have 2 constants. I can either use num for my pseudocode, or I can go ahead and use var, since that's what I'm going to use in JavaScript. I actually usually do that. No, that's right. Because in JavaScript, it's a keyword variable and it's var is how you say it. So if you put, yeah, if you take your pseudocode and try to put that directly into JavaScript, it won't work. Here's something that we can do. Here's what I did on one of my videos last time. If we do num and we put, okay, our constant or is desk number of lamps. So let's say num lamps equals, how much do let's see, actually that would be equal to 0, or I can just say number of lamps, and that's one input. Another input is going to be number of tables. And in the new program, what else did I ask you in the modification? What else does the user have to input besides number of lamps and number of tables? Right. So I would say num would type. Okay. So is there any other input variables that I need? Anything else that in the project that I ask for from the user to be able to calculate his invoice total? Do I need anything else? Total cost, I would create that, right? So I need that. I'm not going to ask it for input, but I do need to know price or total cost, whatever I want to call that variable. Okay, now what are my constants? What constant does it give me? I know the cost of lamps and the cost of coffee tables, right? From my project. Okay, so I can say, and what is kind of standard with constants that I use to make them differentiate from regular variables? How do I type it in? Capitals, all caps. Okay, so if I want to know cost lamps is equal to, are they the 65 or are they the, okay, 65.00. And then the number, oops, num cost underscore tables equals 155, is that right? Okay. Now, since I'm going to do, I can do this wood type a lot of different ways. The way we saw Robert do it, he had a lot of constants. Then, who did we look at last? Oh, Alex. Alex didn't do his with a lot of constants. I think this was all you had, right, Alex? You did only 2 constants. You did have some more for MAH. Okay. So we can have another constant, oops, if we want to, and say maybe MAH, and what was, if it's mahogany, 75. Okay, if it's oak, equals 100. If it's pine, we really don't have to have a constant because there's no calculation for pine, right? Okay, is everybody okay this far that hasn't done theirs? Everybody get this so far? All right. So now we might, so now we did a comparison to the words, and that's how we know we don't have to do any other variables. Does anybody else want to do another constant, or everybody okay with that? So we can do our input next, right? So I'm going to put a comment here that says input. Oops. Input. Okay, so our input would say input, what inputs do we have? Lamps, what else? Num tables. What else? Wood type. Thank you. Wood type. Okay. Do we input total cost? No. That's a calculation, right? Okay. So we're done with input. And in your pseudocode, some people are more detailed and they put output, what is your number of lamps, what's your number of tables. They put in the pseudocode, you know, your output, but that's not required unless it helps you understand better, okay? Okay, so next we're ready for an if statement, right? Because we've got the input. So the first if, we can do it a couple of ways. You saw a couple of ways that worked. Roberts in the beginning asked, and I think maybe David did it this way too, he eliminated the pine and it dropped right to the bottom. So you can do it a couple of different ways. You can either go ahead here and put what was in project 1 and do your calculation and say total cost equals what was our original calculation in project 1? It was just number of tables, right? Number of lamps. We probably do it in parentheses. Number of lamps times cost of lamps. What's the rest of it? What's the next one that we calculated? Num tables, good. Numbered tables times what? Cost tables, good. Okay, so that calculation's done if and it has nothing to do with the wood type yet. So what we want, we can do it a couple of ways. We can go ahead and say if, what do we call it? Wood type is, oh, I did all caps. I don't want all caps. Any trouble? Wood type. Now, I can do equal to in my pseudocode, but if I want to remember what it is in JavaScript, what is it when I do a comparison in JavaScript? Double equals. Okay, if wood type, oh, and that variable doesn't match. Let's see, wood type equals, because up here I used a capital T. If wood type equals oak, then what do I want to do? What do I want to do if it's equal to oak? The way I wrote it, I would take total cost equals total cost plus what? Okay, instead of just adding 100, what did we discuss that we would do? Plus the number of, or actually plus the number of lamps. Wait, I mean not lamps, I'm sorry, tables. So it would be this statement. So it'd be plus the number of tables num tables. Well, I've already figured the total cost, so this time it should just be num tables times whatever my constant is, right? What is my constant? MAA or OAK. So that would be right. Right? Is that going to work? So say total cost up here was $5.95, which is what it is if you put 2 and 3 in. Then if number of tables is 3, times 100, which is what oak is, then I'd add 300 to total cost and get 895. So that should be correct, right? So this is one way to do it. Else, okay, I know our time's up if you need to go to class. Otherwise, if you want to wait, we'll finish it. Else, I think we can finish it pretty quick. Else, total cost equals total cost. Well, actually not an if, I have to do an else if, right? Because I have to say else if wood type double equals, mahogany. Oops, I need to have a space in there. If it equals mahogany, total cost equals total cost plus num tables times oak, right? Is that what? No, that one was oak. Times MAH, right? And otherwise, I would end if. This if has to end if because it doesn't have an else. So it would say end if, and then this if else has to have another end if. So the only thing left is to output total cost. Now, those of you that didn't get anything put in, see if this helps. See if you can take this then and put it into JavaScript, and if you can't, at least try to put it in a flow chart. See if you can follow it through. But you should be able, I'll post one of those JavaScripts, but if you used this pseudocode, your JavaScript should match. I wanted to go ahead and put it in there to show you. I'll try to do downstairs. I'll try to finish. I won't be able to do it with this one. I'll record putting this particular pseudocode into JavaScript. And if you'll go out to Google and view it, okay? Let me see. Where did this go? Let me find where. Make sure this one did so far record. Looks like it did. Okay, let me see.